I haven't seen anybody do any comparisons yet, so I wanted to make this just to kind of show the difference between these two, or at least some early observations. So this is the DMP40 from Jabot, and this is the Ecotech MP40. This was sent to me a few years ago by Ecotech. I never really put it in water. I used it for some testing, but that's basically it. So it's set in my garage collecting dust. But when I open this thing up, first thing I noticed is that it's got this adapter. I did order the American US version of it, but I guess this is their solution for the American one, which is fine because it's just a regular plug. So I have plenty of those hanging around. So let's see, they use a 24 volt 2.2 amp power supply, and it looks like it's got all the certifications, but again, it's hard to tell if they're just printing that on there or not, if this is a good power supply or not. And then when we open up the Ecotech one, they have a 32 volt 1.875 amps. All right, and of course that's the plug, so it's the same thing. I'm sure I can use this plug on that over there and it'll be perfectly fine. So the driver, it looks like this thing snaps. I'm not versed in the world of these Chinese pumps, and I hear that these are kind of universal. I'm sure the other ones have them. I don't know, but it looks like, yeah, this pops on and off. I don't see a way to screw this to the wall. I don't know. Maybe you just put a screw in here and just hang it off the wall, but then at the same time, why do you have this? It's clever, I like it, but I don't see the purpose of it. But I'm not trying to bash anything. I'm just going through and looking at all this stuff. The good thing about this guy here, so this is the dry side. It doesn't have a direct connection to the driver, so the driver is actually disconnects here and here, so it makes a connection, versus the Vortec is just one continuous thing, so the driver is always connected to the dry side. Right, so the one biggest thing I wanted to look at is, people are asking what's the difference between the wet side, and this is the first time pulling this guy out of here. Oh yeah, so wet side has that rubberized part. This one feels a lot lighter than the Ecotech one. It slightly bigger in diameter, it looks like. Yeah, it looks like the splines probably evenly spaced. I can't remember how many are on this. 24 is my best guess. It looks like it's the same. I'm kind of curious if the maybe a little bit different on the top end, but similar design. Of course, that there, they have that inner ring versus this one, so that's an easy way to tell it apart. But it clearly looks like that these two can be compatible with the MP40 dry side and the vice versa. So it looks like they hold up just fine. This one again feels super light. Let's see, are they okay? So they're not the reverse thread like the other one. So there's your ceramic shaft. I assume that's ceramic. Maybe it's not. It feels almost like it's a plastic. Maybe it's a Delrin or something. And there's some flex to it, which I don't know. I have to really dive into that and think about that for a second to see if there's a benefit to that. Trying to see, people were talking about how they can't get this thing apart. Oh yeah, it looks like there is a seam there. Whether or not it comes apart, snaps off somehow, some way, it's hard to tell. But I'd like to get that off so I can see the magnet. It looks like there's either some glue, or if that's some kind of grease. Actually, it looks like glue. White glue? No, it's a grease. Yeah, because I was able to spread it, maybe. Anyway, let's see if we can get this thing off. And I guess if I break it, I break it. I mean, you would imagine, so there's some flex to it, some movement. What if, oh, I see. Yep. So these little clips here, 1, 2, 3, and 4, looks like I could just press those in. Let me grab a screwdriver. And if I just press those guys in, I can get that off. So this is the kind of stuff that I was hoping somebody would show. Oh, I snapped it back in. So let's put some pressure on that while I do this one here. Yeah, you would think that they would use a little bit softer plastic. This seems really brittle type of plastic. You know, it's not like your, maybe it is ABS, but I would always think that ABS is a little bit more forgiving. Yeah, I can't really get that off, and I am damaging the tabs a little bit with the screwdriver by digging them in. What if I were to do this? You know, it's almost like there's a special tool with these 4 tabs that you kind of place this on there and it'll actually push the tabs in, and then you'll be able to lift that off of there. That would be really easy to make. But I don't think I want to go any further without doing any damage, but I think that's where I would probably make some kind of a tool that this thing just sits on and it pushes those tabs in and you just lift it off. I'm almost certain that's how they do that. But man, I almost want to pause this so I can get this off, and actually that's what I'm going to do. Alright, so I was able to get it off, and that's all it was just those 4 tabs. And when we look inside, yeah, this looks surprisingly like the MP40 magnet here, although it doesn't have the same heft. So it looks like there's a hardened plastic. I'm almost assuming that that's like a hard plastic, like a Delrin or something. And then this again, probably the same. Actually, this one looks like it could be a ceramic with that ceramic coating. That what do you call that coating? So that is your that's basically your bearing surface, or your wearable surface, which of course it's not going to wear because you know you compound that with some water, or inside the water, so it's lubricated, and you know you have all that. So here is the wet side for the MP40. I'm going to pop this one off. I've done this so many times. So pulling this guy off, yeah, look at that, tons of silicone grease there. This shaft is actually definitely ceramic. So when we look at the 2 shafts, yeah, this one is a plastic, and again, I'm just guessing. I would say that that is pom-pom or Delrin or whatever you want to call it. And yeah, this is definitely ceramic, and I'm pretty sure that washer down there is also ceramic. This is glued on. I know that that's glued on. So now let's compare the 2 magnets here. Let's see. Yeah, they're almost the same diameter. This again is probably the same material. So this washer, or whatever you want to call this here, is probably the same material as this here. So that's where they get the wear. So they're doing 2 different types of ceramic, probably, where this probably lasts a ton longer versus, you know, your hardened plastic or your Delrin and whatever that is down there. Looks like it's pressed in too. So you look at that. So we're assuming that the magnetic poles are going to be the same, where they're on each side radially. But yeah, when you look at it, it looks the same. The I mean, it's hard to say that that's not an exact copy. So they definitely used a lot of this as inspiration, if we can just say it like that. So let's see, let's get this back together and lock this down and put this in. So I always assumed that this thing has reverse. So, you know, like normally when you go to remove something, you're pulling it off, you know, lefty loosey, righty tighty, right? This one you have to twist in the opposite direction so that it comes off. And I always thought that that had a lot to do with the direction of rotation, and this is on, and this doesn't, the cage will never actually pull off. And I was kind of expecting this to be the same way, but it isn't. It's actually just like opening up a jar. It's lefty loosey and it pulls off, as opposed to twisting it to clockwise to get it to come off. So, and looking at the two impellers, they're exact same pitch, so they spin the same direction. So I don't know if these will eventually come off. One thing I also want to note is that there isn't an O-ring that seals. I think we can pop that. I don't really want to pop that on quite yet, but I think there's on the MP40 there is an O-ring here that kind of helps aid in sealing this, provides probably some dampening as well. It's not on the WM or the DMP, so there's another difference. With this floating like this, I guess, yeah, I really can't get into that. So this is probably pressed on or either glued on. So the assembly process would be to take the magnet, get this flange here, press on the impeller, or glue it on, I'd imagine, and then pop this into place, you know. So yeah, there's a rubber ring here, which looks like that floats in there, in the rubber ring. Anyway, we're kind of discovering this together here. It's the first time having this open. I guess I can put this back together. Yeah, it snaps on, it's in there, good to go. And of course, it's flopping around and it gets its stability from this plastic shaft. So locking this back into place. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, no, yeah, it is backwards. Or not backwards, it's traditional. So these two have the different directions and how they work. And then you got your silicone casted rubber piece that goes on here, you know, with the suction cups. That seems to aid in dampening as well. And then let's look at the wet side, or the dry side, compare it to the MP40. So looking at them both side by side, again, they took a lot of inspiration in design with this, and I can see why people can be upset with the design and how this is, you know, copies almost verbatim on how this is. Now let's put the let's put this on here so you can kind of see, you know, the way that it fits. So yeah, the Jabbo one is just a little bit taller. They both kind of feel the same weight. I'd like to take this thing apart and see, maybe that screw has to come off. Yeah, it's, oh, there's a screw here, so maybe there's 3 screws. Yeah, so it's 3 screws. I like to take this apart and see what type of motor it uses. We're going to do that. Let's take this apart and see what the motor is. I know they use a 3-phased motor in this guy. Let's see if it's the same here. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it is 3-phased. Let's take it apart. Alright, so that wasn't too bad. So it was just these 3 screws, and of course you're fighting the magnet when, you know, with the screwdriver to get those screws off. But yeah, looking at this motor, I'm assuming there's probably 3 more screws behind this this decal, But this, without looking at the motor, I'm assuming it is definitely a 3-phase motor, which they're utilizing all 3 of these wires here. Maybe it is just a regular DC motor. I would imagine it isn't. We'll have to listen to it and see. But so the plastic is different here. It's a little bit more brittle. But yeah, without taking this apart, because to take this one apart, I'd have to remove this decal, and there's 3 screws, and that pops the entire motor assembly off. Anyway, so yeah, this is probably about as far as I'll go with this guy. But yeah, same concept. Looks like the same type of magnet that is used on the Ecotech one. Actually, I have these magnets. Hold on, let me grab one. Alright, so I ran out and I grabbed this. This is from an MP40, and I just cannibalized it, but without getting too close to it, they pretty much are the same diameter there. Little difference in design here, but again, magnet is a magnet. So again, you draw your own conclusion on whether or not this is a direct copy or there's no other way to come up with a similar design. But anyway, so I think that is basically it. Maybe I should power this up and kind of watch the magnet rotate. I could do the same with this, but they have sensors on the MP40 that can tell when it's not connected to, or it can tell that it's not connected to the wet side. I can't imagine you can do that with just these 3 wires. Well, I guess maybe the FOC technology, there is a way to tell with back EMF, but it's quite possible. Who knows? But anyway, let's plug this in and power it up and see how it rotates. See how quiet it is. Okay, so I am not familiar with how their driver works, but it looks like I just plugged it in and it was at F100. And I haven't ran through any of this. It's not what this video is all about anyway. It says M1, which it looks like some sort of a pulse mode. Maybe M3 is what we want. Yeah, I don't know what any of this, what I'm doing here. Here we go, mode, M2, M3. Yeah, so it looks like 30%, if that's what we're looking at, is the lowest it'll go. And as I increase it, to 100. Yeah, that motor is fairly silent. There's some vibration. Maybe there's a little unbalancing there. I can see that can translate through the glass. Well, we just shut off. So maybe it is detecting issues, or maybe I don't know what M3 is. I was assuming that M3 was the constant speed. Maybe it isn't. Anyway, or maybe as I was dragging it, oh, so it is sensing. So you see I put some resistance to it, and it is sensing the drag, and it resets it, I would imagine. Or it could just be that it was just the right time between. See, it's showing error now, error 3. So there is some sort of fail-safes programmed into the program. Let's see if I can just power cycle it, and goes right back to 100. And maybe running it like this, it'll sense that there's not enough drag, and it's gonna pull up an error again. Anyway, that's basically it. I just wanted to really showcase what this does and the differences between the two and the likenesses of the two. And again, you're going to draw your own conclusion. Not knowing the driver, not knowing how the different functions, there it was, it just shut off and then it kicked back in. So yeah, it's got some capability and technology in there that can tell whether it's coupled to the magnet or not. So that's good. Yeah, without knowing more about the driver, I can't really talk smartly about any of that. But when we're looking at it from the mechanical standpoint, they are fairly similar. I'm surprised at how quiet the motor is. Coupling will be the next question, but enough people have already did that. Talking about the noises. My biggest concern with the suction cups was once you suction this to the tank, it's going to be hard to rotate it around to get it to that silent point. But maybe there's enough give in the suction cup that once you get it where you want it and it sits in the tank, it kind of locks into that place, and then the suction cups become more permanent, and it makes it easier. It'd be interesting to see how hard this is to take off after it's been in the tank for a couple months as well. Are you going to start ripping these cups off? Are they going to start peeling off the back side of these? So anyway, so this is something interesting. Yeah, to save on probably cost of the mold. These two are exactly the same. You see these three holes for the screws on the dry side. So yeah, these two are exactly the same. So anyway, I'm sure I can look at it some more, but that is the gist of it, and we're already quite a ways into this video, but hopefully you guys glean some great information from it and kind of see the comparisons between the two. And again, you're going to draw your own conclusion. So there you have it.